Good, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Educator Effectiveness Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Appel, Dr. Armstrong, Mr. Birkin, Mr. Castile, not present, Ms. Champagne, Dr. Clark, not present, Mr. Harris, Mr. Hollis, Ms. Holloway, Ms. Mallory, Mr. Morris, Ms. Boutin. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Your first item is 2.1, consideration of a presentation from Southeastern University. Your recommendation is to receive.
Motion, please. Mr. Harris, first and second, Dr. Armstrong. Dr. Brumley, would you please introduce our guest?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. So I'm proud to welcome to the table Dr. Paula Calderon to provide information relative to programs and the ways in which they educate our future teachers at Southeastern Louisiana University. I had the good honor within the last month to go down to Southeastern, visit with Dr. Calderon and many of the students, like a whole giant room full of students and teachers and faculty members around education in the state of Louisiana. And then following that, had the opportunity to engage with many of the students in conversations about their interests, their desires, and what they intend to do beyond Southeastern. So really looking forward to Dr. Calderon's presentation today to share information about what they are doing within their school programming. Dr. Calderon?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As Dr. Brumley said, I'm Dean of the College of Education at Southeastern, and I'm also President of the Louisiana Association for Colleges for Teacher Education. And Dr. Brumley, I have to say that word got around when you spoke to our students. Dr. Brumley was the last person in the room. He did not leave until all of the students and all of the faculty and all of my lab school teachers had left. And so you made a big hit there. So I have quite a few slides, but I'm going to rush through them because I know my time is limited and I'm happy to answer questions at the end. As Southeastern approaches its centennial, so does teacher education. Southeastern was started as Hammond Junior College for the main purpose of providing teaching certificates. And so we're happy to say that we are also embarking upon our centennial. I have a few numbers here, and this is from Title II. These are public numbers, and it just kind of shows you the top 5 universities that have prepared teachers over the last 5 years. Some of the names have changed, some of the names have stayed the same. You can see the numbers and you can also see the universities. And in 21-22, Southeastern enjoyed a spike somehow and ended up with the most number of certified teachers prepared. And that's at the 4-year undergraduate level and the alternative certification level. This graph, I've been collecting Title II information for about 15 years at 2 different universities. And again, this is all public information. And it shows you, the green shows the total of teacher education in Louisiana. The blue shows the university programs. And the red shows our non-university programs. And as I mentioned at lunch today, members, over the past 15 years, nearly 75% of all of Louisiana's certified teachers have come from the universities. And it is something that we're quite proud of. The certification programs at Southeastern, you can see that we have 15 certification areas at the undergraduate level, 2 post-baccalaureate alternatives teacher certification at all the certification areas, from art to business to physics to world language Spanish to whatever your heart desires. And we also offer the Certificate in International Education awarded by the International Baccalaureate. This is offered at both the undergraduate and the graduate levels, and Southeastern enjoys the distinction as being the only university in the Gulf South to offer the credential from The Hague that gives our students the ability to teach in international baccalaureate schools. That would be LSU Lab, Kehoe, France, Hammond High Magnet, Hammond East Side, and many of others in any country on the planet. And so we like that distinction very much. We partner with over a dozen school districts, and yes, it gets to be a lot. Most recently, West Baton Rouge, West Feliciana, and Jefferson parishes have asked for our residents, asked for MOUs, and we just, right when I was typing up this slide, the phone rang from somebody from St. Landry saying, does Southeastern work with St. Landry Parish? Southeastern works with any parish. Let me just be clear there. We are happy to take your students. And those are uncertified teachers from St. Landry Parish who are now joining our certification-only program to become certified teachers. This is one of the pieces of information that I know you wanted was program impact. And so this information comes from the teacher preparation quality, and I can't remember what it is, but the TPQRS, the Teacher Preparation Quality Rating System. You will see that 75% of the data are unavailable because 75% of our teachers are not in VAM grades and they're not in VAM subject areas. 2% are ineffective and 19% are in one of the effective categories. Because there's such a huge number in non-VAM scores, I wanted to let you know what we do as an accredited university. We take the focus groups, case studies, classroom observations of our completers, and we collect the data on this to satisfy national accreditation standards. Because obviously with 75%, or what was that, 79% missing, we can't just say we do a wonderful job. I mean, we know we do, but we can't just say that. So we have to have a way to prove it. And in order to meet that standard for national accreditation, we have to find another way to prove program impact. When we observe our program completers in the classroom, we do pre-tests, we watch our completers deliver instruction, and we deliver post-tests to see if there's any growth. We interview the students in the classroom. We interview the teachers next door. We interview the principals, and that is the only way that we are able to make up for that dark blue slot there because there's no data right now from the state. So we've had to come up with our own ways. And since you asked about program impact in previous correspondence, I wanted to make sure that I was able to show it to you. Mr. Morris, this is just for you about artificial intelligence. And I'll go through this quickly. Artificial intelligence, you're not going to beat it. You're not going to get rid of it. It's not a curriculum. It is a tool. Just as Encyclopedia Britannica came along one day, it is now part of our everyday lives. Think about how instruction has changed with spell check, translation software, and calculators. When I took the ACT back in the Stone Age, calculators were not allowed. Now students can take the ACT with the calculator. Teachers and teacher educators need to adapt and transform educational program and assessment practices so that students can use AI tools ethically and effectively. We will not be successful in trying to ban the use of such technologies, but we can embrace them, work with the schools, work with the current teachers, the current administration, and the future teachers to help them support their students on how to use these tools ethically in accordance with the principles of academic integrity. We do not consider work produced, even in part, whether it's an image or text, by AI tools to be the student's own work. Just like when your 5th or 6th grade teacher told you that if you submit a term paper with a whole bunch of quotes in it, it's not accepted as your work because you copied everything from World Book Encyclopedia or Encyclopedia Britannica, as I mentioned here. The AI-generated software and the use of AI must be quoted, must be referenced, just like any other book, just like any other reference. And this statement was taken from the International Baccalaureate. We use it with our students who are in the International Baccalaureate program, and we've let it permeate through the other programs to show that, yes, you can use AI, but you have to use it responsibly and ethically. And of course, I have my little plug at the bottom that we do offer the International Baccalaureate Educator Certificate. So the Teacher Registered Apprenticeship Program, as you already know, because you approved this, Southeastern Louisiana University and Tangipahoa Parish became the first Louisiana Department of Education sponsored apprenticeship program. We are moving forward on this, we are meeting on this, and I'm not going to read these slides to you. You have them, and you created them for the last year's BESI meeting. We are moving forward on this and hoping that with a little help from legislation, our school districts will be able to put a line item in their budget to hire our teacher candidates. Remember, our residents are in the classroom full-time in 2 semesters, and they're not receiving a paycheck, and they're paying full-time tuition. We're hoping that our residents can be paid and hired as either substitutes, paraprofessionals, apprentices. It's all the same name. It's a paid residency is what we're doing. And then have an agreement to let those residents return to the schools and teach, sort of like a loan forgiveness program. And we are excited. We've been working with Kevin Nanny on this and Tangipahoa Parish School System. So, if you've been here as long as I have, you remember the STAR days, students teaching and reaching. This is a situation of where Southeastern Louisiana University listened to the districts. We brought students in left and right for the STAR program. They came to a shadow day, they followed students around, they got to sit in education classes, and the principals said, look, because of school performance scores, I can't release anybody to be a STAR teacher, but if you change to dual enrollment, I can do it. So that's what we did. We removed the STAR program and we created dual enrollment, which goes right along with the pre-educator pathway. So students in dual enrollment courses are invited to campus twice a year, in the fall for Gumbo Yaya and in the spring next week actually for Strawberry Jubilee. They learn what it's like to be an education major at Southeastern. They sit in education classes. They observe our lab school, which is connected to my building, and they pal around with college students all day. And this is one of our dual enrollment instructors, and the young lady to the right is a former dual enrollment student. She's an early childhood education major, and she's a college ambassador. And we would not take anything for having her. She is bright and bubbly, and you can tell by her smile that she is a wonderful representative for the university. And these are just some pictures of the high school students on campus at Southeastern observing college classes. We also do academic signing at the high school, and if I had put more than 2 pictures, you could have seen my hairstyle change quite a bit through these pictures. And these are the students who have completed either an Educator's Rising curriculum or a pre-educator pathway curriculum, and they have committed to teacher education at Southeastern Louisiana University. And our mascot comes, and this is, one of these is at West Baton Rouge Parish, and the other one is in Tangipahoa Parish. Something we have implemented is 240 tutoring. You know that we have a $5 million federal bridge grant that was not terminated. I'll get to that later. And with the grant money, we purchased 240 tutoring for Praxis Success. We've tied it to a class, and students actually have to do lab hours, and if they make a certain score on the praxis exams, it's a guarantee that they will pass the praxis. If for some reason they don't pass, 240 pays for the next round of preparation, and might even pay for some exams. And so since you wanted to know how are we keeping students in education once they get into education, many of them leave because they are unable to pass the licensure exam. Well, we've implemented 240 tutoring, and it has shown very good promise. We have also begun an LLC, which is not the same that LLC means to most of you. This is a living learning community at 12 Oaks Hall. This is an upper class dorm, but our education freshmen get to live here. The research shows, especially if you look at things from the Gardner Institute, research shows that students living together, taking classes together, supporting each other, and studying together keeps them in college and it keeps them in the program. And so this is for any of our education majors, male and female, and they get to live in one of the newer dorms, and it is very nice. Their Southeastern 101 class is taught, which is now a Southeastern 1010 class, is taught downstairs so they can go to class in their pajamas. Because we all know that kids like to wear their pajamas to class. So that is another move toward recruitment that we have initiated at Southeastern. Here's the grant. Bridge, building rigorous induction and development for growing all educators. When March 2025 got here and the federal government canceled the Teacher Quality Partnership and the SEED grants, there were 6 remaining in the entire United States. SUNO's grant did not get canceled, and Southeastern's grant did not get canceled. We don't know how. There have been some lawsuits. I won't go into all the boring details, but the grants that have been terminated were reinstated, and now the Supreme Court has not ruled yet, but it looks like they're going to rule to have those grants to continue termination. Very sadly, because all of these are for preparing teachers, preparing future teachers, and we definitely need the grants. So right now we're holding our breath because when this money goes, I have to fire 3 staff members, and that hurts. But with the Bridge grant, we have been able to do things like the LLC, the 240 tutoring, and we follow our graduates into the schools and we give them a 2-year induction program. We form mentors at the school specifically for induction, and our residents, our candidates who graduate immediately go into the district. We have partnerships with Tangipahoa Parish, St. Charles Parish, and St. Tammany Parish. And those, instead of just saying, hey, here's your diploma and here's your keys to the school, we're out in the schools with them where it's a non-evaluative support. We run through the pop cycles just like you would with any NIET training, but it is non-evaluative and it helps the candidate to grow. And what we're trying to do is get our graduates past the 2 to 5 year mark of attrition. We're trying to keep them as long as possible. So that's what the Bridge Grant is for. We are also in partnership with NIET, who conducts our evaluation as a grantee, and who does our training for us. And as you know, the LAER is based on the NIET's ATR, Aspiring Teacher Rubric. Okay. We also instituted a pinning ceremony, and my good friends from LSU heard about the pinning ceremony and said, hey, can we come watch? We might want to do this. I said, absolutely. The more we can lift our residents up, the more we can elevate the profession, and the more we can give some pride to our students. Nursing has pinning, business has pinning. Why doesn't education have pinning? So we started this about 2 or 3 years ago. We do 1 a semester, and we ask the students to wear this pin on their school lanyard so that when they are walking around the school and somebody says, oh, look, you went to Southeastern. Oh, you're a great teacher. You went to Southeastern. So that's our pin. We give it to the students when they go into their 2nd semester of residency and they're on their way to graduation. We also have this sign for our mentor teachers. And if Dr. Brumley is a mentor teacher, he gets a sign right outside his door. And if he decides he's not a mentor teacher the next year, we'll just move his sign to Mr. Morris's room, for example, and put it outside his room. It gives some recognition to the university, recognition to the College of Education, and it also allows people to say, I think I might want to be a mentor teacher. How do I do that? And we get the phone calls asking about this. This one is a little odd, but this is how we keep our young mothers in the College of Education. There is a lot of research about pregnant and parenting students and how they don't finish college. And so I took one of my faculty offices and we created basically a mother's room, a lactation room for those students to do what they need to do and continue in class. This is right in the Teacher Education Center. There are a few across campus. And we've had lots of results of students saying, you know, I was going to drop out, but because I don't have to go to the ladies' room to take care of business, I can go to this room privately. I'm going to stay in school, and I'm going to be a teacher. And so this is just another initiative that we've had. The Energize Project, which I'm sure you know about, this is the project to prepare certified teachers who are interested in computer science to take and pass the computer science praxis exam. The state has wonderfully given us 2 contracts, and we're hoping for a third. We're in Energize 2.0 now, and so we're hoping for Energize 3.0. We have been able to train teachers, you know, I mean, it could be an English teacher, it could be a math teacher, it could be any other STEM teacher, because we know that legislation is coming. Actually, legislation is here, but August 1st is coming, and we know that computer science needs to be taught in the classroom. So we have reached out to all of the CTE coordinators and computer science teachers and STEM directors, and we teach about the praxis exam. We've got some pretty good data on what is slowing us down. Algorithms might be one of those. Coding, it can come or go. Coding seems to be a little bit of an issue, but we've got talented people from the computer science department and from my education college that are working together to make sure that we've got some computer science teachers in all of our Louisiana schools. And we've got students from Lafourche Parish to Caddo Parish, all the way up and down the state of Louisiana. Our inaugural spring training of Energize was in spring 2024. We provided almost 800 Louisiana public school and public charter school teachers with training and study materials for Praxis Exam 5652. Energize Go for Launch is our second one. We don't know what we're going to name the third one yet, but we're thinking positively. And we are also creating a cadre of teachers who can assist other teachers in their parts of the state to train and assist certified teachers into taking the praxis exam so that we can stay current with BESI policy and with legislation. And I know I breezed through that, but that was a lot. I am more than happy to answer questions. This isn't the end. We've got a lot of work to do.
Ms. Holloway, I just want to thank Dr. Calderon for some of the innovation of approach that she shared with us today. I really think the idea around the LLC is an interesting concept where the students are able to live in the same dorm. Definitely a nicer dorm than I saw in the day, but
Right.
Very nice dorm. And I think it's great that they get to do that, and I think it's a really clever approach. So thank you for continuing to think about innovation in this particular space.
Dr. Calderon, thank you for being here. I just have to say, don't take this wrong, but you're like the Energizer Bunny. Like, for the last 8 years I've known you, you have brought so much energy and progressiveness, innovation to the higher ed. And I so appreciate you, especially with working with preparing effective classroom teachers. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yes, and I do want, I have one more comment, but I'll wait until after board members. Yes.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Appel?
Thank you. 2 questions. One simple one. How do you attract more men to the teaching profession?
That is a tough one, probably with salary. And we also try to make sure that all the girls in our living learning community are good looking. You
That
knew
would
you
work
were-
very well.
You know you were walking into that one.
I didn't know, but I accept it.
That's what we've had to do. We, whenever we have our recruiting events, like our Lion Pride Preview, our Scholars Showcase, and our Admitted Students Day, we try to grab our male teachers from the lab school and our male students to show more of a male presence to encourage more males to come. But that is a tough one.
Well, I just want to say that had it been a male sitting there at the microphone and making that comment, it would be all over the Advocate as sexist. But I just wanted to make that clear. The other thing I had to ask was, one of the great problems that I hear of is specialty teachers, science, math, so forth and so on. These may not be, I mean, to me, they would not necessarily be people that are in the School of Education, but maybe in the math school, some form of science, physics or chemistry or so forth. Is there an effort to lure people that are trained not as teachers, but as mathematicians, for instance, into the teaching profession?
Absolutely. So we have two post-baccalaureate programs, the certification-only program, which is your program that just results in teacher certification, and the Master of Arts in Teaching, which is the degree-granting alternate certification program. And so those mathematicians, physicists, chemists, and biologists who go out into the field and say, you know what, I think I'd really be good teaching 11th grade chemistry, and want to come back, we've got the program. And both of those programs are 100% online. So if you are in another parish, another state, we've even had members of the military start the program in Afghanistan and then come back to Louisiana with their families and not miss a beat on the program because they are both 100% online. And so we are trying to reach out past the borders of Louisiana to get people in and to teach those courses.
Well, one other question, and it follows the same track, but is there any effort to reach out to, say, retired people like the president of our board, who's an electrical engineer that is now retired? Is there any effort to reach out to people like that to bring them into the teaching profession? I mean, they may not be able to have a lifetime to devote to it, but they might have decades, perhaps, that they'd be willing to give up in their retirement.
How many decades was that?
Depends on you. I'm just pointing at you, not me.
We do reach out to industry. We do reach out to our industry partners. We even try to see, you know, hey, you may still have a few years left as a chemical engineer, an electrical engineer in a certain organization, but you might want to teach also. Why don't you come on and get certified? And so we do reach out to industry. The ones that come to us are the ones who say, I was not meant to be retired.
Right.
I need to do something. I was not meant to be retired. And those are the ones that come to us. But the rest of them, they seem to retire and go fishing, and I'm not sure about you, Mr. Morris. And there you go, look.
Yeah. Well, that's why I cited him, because he is making an effort to do something different with the rest of his life. But anyway, I just thought that would be a natural source of especially specialty teachers.
Yes.
And I just was curious how that effort was going on. But thank you so much. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Appel. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Morris, please.
I had a couple for you. So first of all, thank you for the presentation. I thought it was spot on, so thank you for that. My first one was, can you give us a little bit more information? You mentioned some legislation that you thought might be coming or pending, specific to residents and apprenticeship, and providing some incentive there. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Sure, absolutely. I know the department has an update on the Teacher Recruitment, Recovery, and Retention Task Force, and so I don't want to steal their thunder at all. But what we're hoping is that the legislators will see the need for a paid residency. And right now, we're calling it a registered teacher apprenticeship, call it a paid residency, and somehow get a line item in the school district's budgets for a paid resident, several paid residents. It could be a substitute teacher pay or a paraprofessional pay. And once that teacher is paid during his or her residency for 2 semesters, then if there's an opening in that district, that teacher turns right back around and teaches in that district as a loan forgiveness or a loan payoff.
Okay, thank you. My second thought was just to echo Superintendent Brumley's comment about the education, living, learning community, the 12 Oaks Hall. I had inquired about this with some other colleges in the state where the policy was that you couldn't major in education as a freshman. And so I thought that, in my mind, there's a concern there that you're sort of got a break in your pipeline. If I'm recruiting students from middle school and high school and hoping they have some vision to choose this career pathway, but they get to college, oh, sorry, our policy says you can't major in education as a freshman. Well, then they get interested in other things and they lose their interest maybe in education. But it sounds like you guys have a continuum here where you don't have that break. Is that right?
I'll be perfectly honest, Mr. Morris, it's a quasi-continuum. It's not direct admit into the college because you need to have a 2.5 GPA and you need to have 60 hours, but you can declare education. And so if I'm a freshman, I say, hey, you know what, I want to be a French teacher. Then I can join all of the education organizations, go live in the dorm in 12 Oaks with the education folks. And what I'm hoping is that people like me would stay in education. If we put them off into another dorm and they've already declared education, then they might get friends, become friends with somebody from nursing or business
Right.
and move into another dorm.
Right.
And so we're hoping that we keep their friendship circle small and they stay right with other teachers. But
Right.
as long as they have made a declaration of, yeah, once I get to my 60 hours, I think I want to be a teacher, then we'll take them.
Got it. But you're building community, right, with a focus on the hall.
Building community and trying to get them early because we know, the first education class is not until a 2000 level class. And so they're taking all of these gen ed classes with all sorts of majors. And what if they fall in love with accounting? Well,
Right.
heaven forbid, we don't want them to go to business.
Right.
And we want them to stay in education. So it's forming that community and keeping them together.
Thank you for that. I think it's a very innovative approach. My next question was, when we look at the teacher shortages throughout the state, I'm looking forward to hearing LDOE's presentation here shortly. One of the, I would share an experience I had. I substitute taught last week in Ascension Parish, Algebra 2. When I'm in the building, I stopped by to see the physics teacher. And basically, I just asked him, what's keeping you here, right? He's had other job offers and whatnot. And his response was basically differentiated pay. So as long as we have demand for the math and the sciences and so forth, and I shared in a previous meeting that, I don't think the manufacturing infrastructure we have south of I-10 is going anywhere anytime soon, that those facilities are going to be there, but I'm really concerned about who's going to be operating those facilities. We don't have the math and the science teachers in our high schools, then what's going to generate the student interest to pursue those career pathways? So I really struggle with where's the succession plan? How do we know how many math teachers we have? What's the market demand for math teachers? LSU told us last meeting that they graduated less than 12 math teachers last year. So how do we know how many math teachers we need? How do we know how many science teachers we need so that we can satisfy the market demand? And then hopefully we've got that differentiated pay in place that's going to draw them in those fields. But it seems like we have to have some appreciation for what those vacancies are. Do you guys explore that in any way so you have some appreciation for those particular segments of education?
Absolutely. You can shake a tree and a social studies teacher will fall out of it. So we know that we are, and an elementary teacher as well, we know that we are oversaturated with elementary teachers, social studies, and English teachers. And we rely on state data and district data. How many uncertified teachers do you have and in what areas? So that's what we rely on. That's how we try to recruit. But as you know, enrollment in teacher education all over is going down. So we're just trying to recruit, period. Not just math and physics. We are trying to recruit people into education. And we use the vacancy numbers from our partner districts or any information, any information we get from the State Department of Education regarding teacher shortages to try to target. go into the math classes, tell them about being a high school math teacher. Hey, did you love your high school math teacher? Wouldn't you like to do the same thing that your high school algebra teacher did? We do all of those. And sometimes we have a bumper crop, and sometimes we have fewer than 10. And that's where we are now, is fewer than 10 a year.
In math?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Last question. I appreciate your comments on AI. Mr. DiBenedetto and I followed up a couple months ago with a couple of schools in Livingston Parish where the teachers had been using Conmigo from the Khan Academy team. And feedback, we got overwhelming positive feedback we got from those teachers was, where has this been? I feel like I have my own admin. A lot of these check-the-box exercises that take a lot of time, I can get those through much quicker. They can use it, as you said earlier, as a tool, and the tool can go conduct research for them where they've got to come up with a really cool idea, a really cool approach to present something to students, and AI can come back with, or in this case, the Khan Academy tool can come back with 3 suggestions and just save them a lot of time in brainstorming and whatnot. So my question to you is, well, in my mind, I see this as a tremendous aid for teachers based on the feedback that I got, particularly in a heterogeneous classroom where you got some really high performers and you got some kids that are zoned out and too embarrassed to ask the silly question to get me back in the conversation because I'm lost. But with the tutor in the laptop, the kid's got the opportunity to re-engage and nobody knows, I'm checking with my tutor. So I really see it personally as transforming the education career now that every student should have their own tutor in their laptop at their level. So my question to you is, it's still a little bit early in the game, but where do you see us in 5 years?
That's a good question. I see probably less homogeneous classrooms, like you said. We teach our students to differentiate between the bluebirds, the yellowbirds, and the turkey buzzards. And that's hard to do when you're just one person standing. But as you mentioned, if we all have our own tutor, then we can each work at our own pace, and then I'm not embarrassed that you're working on the advanced stuff and I'm working on the turkey buzzard stuff because I'm a little bit slower in math, for example. And so I see that our classrooms could probably get, and this is not a good thing, but probably get larger, but definitely less homogeneous to where we are teaching students of different levels. Maybe we have a 2nd grade classroom and a 3rd grade classroom that's combined, especially in smaller rural schools where you've got 10 2nd grade students and 10 3rd grade students, and it's easier to teach both of those. In larger schools where you already have 20, 25, and 30 students in a classroom and you've got plenty of students to teach, maybe as a tutor for a test, tutor for homework, but in some of our rural districts where we're short on teachers and the classrooms are small and we can combine a 2nd and a 3rd grade classroom, that's where I see it.
Okay, maybe just one more quick one on the same topic, though. You mentioned in your comments on AI about basically the guidelines you guys have put in place for using it as a tool. What, if any, thought have you given to helping teachers with how to use that tool so they can teach students how to use the tool?
That's what we do. And so we allow assignments. We design assignments specifically with AI. And we also use something called Turn It In, which is basically your plagiarism checker.
Right.
And so we find out, okay, let's say you're in an art class, maybe art for elementary education. AI can give you some suggestions, some ideas, and then you can design your art project. Maybe you're in just an elementary ELA class. And how can you use AI as a tool? How can you use AI as a tool in your classroom? And then that classroom, the other 20 students in the class, are my ELA students right now. They're college kids, but they're my ELA students right now. So I'm going to let you experiment a little bit. And so not only we teach the students and then let the students teach each other, and then they go out into the field and do that. And not all of our districts are on board, but they're getting there. And we know we can't run away from artificial intelligence. but we absolutely teach them and incorporate it in our lessons. Instead of saying, these are the lessons that we did 5 years ago, our syllabi have changed and we use these lessons now.
Great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Dr. Bromley, if you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to, since Dr. Calderon, you're here, as well as other individuals from colleges of education from throughout the state, I just wanted to encourage you to track House Bill 109 from Representative Thompson this year. We have worked with him to put this particular bill in a posture where it will be more effective, because it's the Go Teach program. You know, we started Go Teach probably 3 years ago. That helps students coming out of high school to get scholarships to colleges. The challenge has been, as we talk to individuals in higher ed, both at the state level and individual universities, is that TOPS comes in first and will pay for these students, and then Go Teach can't be applied because TOPS has already paid for the tuition. So the shift in working with Regents and LOSFA will allow the Go Teach money to go on first, and then TOPS will come behind. So
Okay.
these students that are interested in becoming educators, you know, this is give or take, but in many ways will have a full ride to college if they qualify for TOPS, because they would get the Go Teach money and the TOPS money. And I think this is really attractive to individuals, particularly in times of economic uncertainty, that they can know that they can go to college and have that essentially paid for. So I just want to encourage you all to track Representative Thompson's House Bill 109 as it makes its way through the process, because I do think it will really help bring more students out of high schools into our colleges that want to be teachers.
Great, thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. Dr. Bromley, yes, Mr. Perkins.
So, hi. So whenever someone is saying that they want to possibly go into education, be a teacher, what are the objections? What are their objections that you need to overcome?
I have said before that, and I'm a former classroom teacher, so I'm including myself in this, that we are our biggest enemy. Our teachers who are observing in the classroom hear, good grief, I don't know why anybody would want to be a teacher. You kids are giving me a migraine. We hear that. It may just be said tongue-in-cheek. It might just be a bad day, but our students are listening. The high school students are listening. Well, Miss Jones said she didn't know why anybody wants to be a teacher. I guess I have to go be a CPA now. So we do hear that. Parents many times discourage their children from becoming teachers. The media is not always our friend. We don't get the great things that happen in the classroom. We get when a student beats up a teacher and puts her in the hospital. We hear that. And, you know, that can happen anywhere. That can happen at Walmart. That can happen at the bank. But for some reason, it pops up in the media when it comes to education. And so elevating the profession like we did with our pinning ceremony, and just trying to speak positively, going into the schools, like where you saw the academic signing, going into the schools, and we asked the juniors and seniors, what are the barriers? What are the barriers to education? What do you think? And I think parents still think that teachers don't make a lot of money. I know that that has changed over the years, and I know that we have had some pay raises, and the money comparisons just aren't out there. Hey, you can be this and you can be a teacher, and guess what? You're going to make the same amount of money. So a little bit is there. You know, a little bit of it is salary, but it is what the juniors and the seniors, or the sophomores and juniors and seniors, hear on their school campuses, in the media, and hear from their parents.
Is dual enrollment helping, or y'all are actively in the schools doing the dual enrollment?
We are actively in the schools in dual enrollment for many things, not just education. And so we have our intro to special education and our intro to education courses, basically the pre-educator pathway. We have those in the schools, and they're small in number. You don't have 40 and 50 people in those classes. It's for Southeastern specifically, they can complete our dual enrollment courses and then take them anywhere else in the state. And so sometimes our yield does not come from dual enrollment. But we try our best. You know, we provide them with swag, we provide them with teacher goodies, we provide them with Southeastern goodies, and those sorts of things. But we are in the schools, and a Southeastern employee is actually the teacher of those classes. Their classroom teacher is the facilitator, but the actual instructor is somebody from Southeastern. And so they get to meet Southeastern faculty when they're in the 11th grade.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Anyone else? Dr. Calderon, on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank the Louisiana Association of Colleges for Teacher Education and for being with us for lunch, partnering with us. And if I may, at this time, would all our university department heads please stand? We have from across Louisiana, please stand. I don't know, about 15, 20 of you. We've got several. Look at them. Oh, this is great. Thank you for all that you are doing for us. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your presentation. Next item, please.
Your consent agenda is ready for approval, adding items 6.1 through 6.14.
Motion, please. Mr. Morris, second it. Mr. Harris. Are we good? Any opposition? With no opposition, next item, please.
Your next item is on page 1, item 3.1, consideration of certification preparation pathway proposals. The recommendation is to approve as outlined.
Motion, please. Dr. Clark, next. Mr. Harris. Any opposition? Motion carried. Next item, please.
Your next item is on page 4, item 4.1, consideration of revisions to bulletins regarding educator preparation, evaluation, and credentials. The recommendation is to approve as a notice of intent, revisions to bulletins 130, 746, and 996.
Motion, please. Dr. Armstrong and Dr. Clark, second it. Any opposition? Motion carried. Next item, please.
Your next item is on page 8, item 5.1, consideration of an update report regarding the 23-24 workforce data and key performance indicators. The recommendation is to receive.
Motion, please. Mr. Morris and Mr. Birkin, second it. Thank you.
Ms. Holloway, before Dr. Chasson and her team make this particular presentation, I do want to share a few thoughts relative to the teaching profession and teaching workforce. First of all, I would reject the notion that we have an overall teacher shortage. I just don't think that is true. We have certainly areas of the profession where we need more teachers, and we certainly need more teachers in every area moving forward. We have an 85% retention rate in the state. We have a 3% increase in new teachers staying in the profession, and our overall vacancy rate has moved from around 2,500 3 or 4 years ago when the agency first began to track to something like 1,500 to 1,300 to under 1,000 today. And so if you look at our overall vacancy rate in the state, it's between 1% and 2%. And I know that there are individuals who, in this room, that own businesses, and if I suggested to you that you would have a vacancy rate between 1% and 2%, you'd probably take that. Now, clearly, I don't want to underestimate the need that we have for more effective teachers. We certainly need more teachers coming into the profession, and I want to thank this board for working over the last few years to help us break down barriers that were preventing people from going into the teaching profession. You have crafted policies that have enabled local school systems to be able to hire people that they otherwise would not have been able to hire that have been good hires through residency programs, through the associate teacher pathway, through new pathways for leader preparation. And so you all have helped us be able to make movement on this vacancy piece. And we know that we have a lot of work left to do. But I just wanted to, in advance of Dr. Chasson and her team giving this report, just let you know that the policies that you've passed are helping us move in the right direction. And we still have more work to do. Dr. Chasson, you want to provide the report?
Thank you, Dr. Brumley. Good afternoon, everyone. Janice Chaslon, Department of Education. Happy to bring you all an update this afternoon on the Louisiana educator workforce. Today's update is comprised of two parts. I'll begin with a brief overview of a historical update that is given each year since 2016 called the Workforce Report. And then we will move on to a key performance indicator update on programming and initiatives to support our priority of quality teachers. The state workforce snapshot, the purpose of this is to communicate annual workforce data and trends to stakeholders and to support decision-making for statewide improvements regarding recruitment and retention. This data was reported by school systems from the end of year data for the 2023-2024 school year. Not only do we produce a statewide report, but we also produce 4 regional snapshots which summarize workforce data for each region. While the same workforce data elements are displayed in the regional snapshots, these reports disaggregate data based on that region and show a comparison to the state from that region. This slide notes a few key takeaways from the statewide report. Of note, retention increased for teachers with 1 to 5 years experience, which is an important group of educators because this represents our new teachers. And this is part of the population of teachers that we've struggled with retaining in years past. So I think it's really important to note in this key takeaway that we are retaining more new teachers than we have in the past. And we'll break each one of these down a little bit more. To begin with, our total teacher workforce increased by 843 teachers. Our total number of teachers is 52,808. I want to note here that this includes teachers who are what we would call a teacher of record, meaning that they are assigned to a class of students or multiple classes of students. But this number also includes anyone who is assigned a teacher code. So this could include literacy coaches, librarians, disciplinarians, etc. And so that gets us to that nearly 53,000 number. That question that some of you may have might be around, how did we increase the teacher population by 843 teachers from year-over-year data? And I think there are a few things that we can make some assumptions about. One is that we've had increased funding over the last several years due to stimulus dollars that have included increased spending in salary and benefits, and so including more specialized supports with things like literacy coaches. The next slide just shows our retention data, and Dr. Brumley already mentioned that Louisiana is retaining 85% of the educator workforce, and this number did remain the same from one year to the next. And just a note here that this does include teachers who left for promotions. So that is counted against that teacher retention rate, even if they are promoted to an assistant principal, a district level position. But noting here that that retention rate did increase by 3% for teachers with 1 to 5 years experience. We are often asked about how many certified teachers we have in this state. And so all of this data presented so far does include our traditional public schools and our charter schools. And this really breaks that down when it comes to certification, because a common question is, what's our percentage of certified teachers in both traditional and charter schools, knowing that charter schools do have additional flexibility and autonomy when it comes to employment of educators. 69% of teachers in traditional public schools are certified in the courses that they are teaching. A little note here is that teachers are certified, we consider them as certified, when they hold a valid teaching certificate. If a certified teacher teaches a course that is outside of their certification area, then we would consider them in that column there as teaching out of field. A teacher could teach both certified and out of field courses. And so you'll note here that some of these percentages don't add up to 100%, and that's because we have some duplicates. We may have teachers teaching within an area they're certified and outside of an area where they're certified. Teachers without a valid certification or with a certificate that has expired are considered uncertified in this table. Another note on retention is that the 3-year retention rate is 8% higher for educators prepared on an undergraduate teacher preparation program pathway. So this data tracks teachers from both undergraduate, or we might also refer to that as traditional programs, and post-baccalaureate, also referred to as alternate certification programs, to their initial hiring and employment over a 3-year period. This data shows that undergraduate retention rates are higher over a 3-year period than post-baccalaureate retention rates. Not a part of this report today, but I think really important to mention is that, and I think a really good segue from Dr. Calderon's presentation, is that we have overall increased the number of completers from Louisiana teacher preparation programs. And so pre-COVID in the 2019-2020 school year, there were about 1,750 completers exiting Louisiana teacher preparation programs. We had a dip throughout those COVID years of students who were exiting teacher preparation programs in our state. But during the 22-23 school year, we then superseded that pre-COVID number with 1,776 candidates completing programs. So I think that's a really good sign that we are increasing now, year over year, the amount of students who are exiting teacher preparation programs to keep that pipeline strong in years to come. And I think that's really due, in large part, to the hard work of our teacher preparation providers. This brings us to the end of our slides with an overview of workforce reporting. So next we'll take a look at our key performance indicator around our priority of quality teachers and the programming to support this area. The key performance indicator around quality teachers is to increase the percentage of students in a classroom led by a high quality teacher. And I wanted to make a connection here briefly between all of our KPIs and Louisiana's accountability scorecard. I think this is just really important to do because our key performance indicators are measurable values that help track progress towards strategic goals and assess the progress over time. This month's KPI tracks the percentage of students who are being taught by quality educators, and we all know that quality educators will impact every area of accountability. I especially want to point out those rows around growth of students. We know that effective educators are important for every part of this, but when we think about growing students who are below grade level, it's so important that those students have access to an effective educator of high quality in order to move them into grade level where they need to be. And this is our key performance indicator slide for our priority of quality teachers. You'll see here that our actual KPI data is not yet set, since it will set a goal on growing our number of high-quality educators. We define high-quality educators within Bulletin 130, in which standards for educator effectiveness are outlined. Last spring, you all voted to update these standards for effectiveness within Bulletin 130, and we will not have full data to set this KPI until the end of this school year. This chart captures in the top left the data from our legacy evaluation system, also known as COMPASS, and the percentages of high-quality educators from the past several years using that data. The orange dotted line in the top right will project our new goal once our baseline is determined after this school year. The key endeavors in the columns track activities, initiatives, and programming that we have moved forward over the last several years to improve recruitment, retention, and increase the amount of high-quality educators serving students. The bars there represent measures of several key endeavors, including LEADS training certifications, overall teacher retention, new teacher retention, high school students participating in educator preparation pathways, and schools participating in educator preparation pathways. So we'll break those down just a little more. Key Endeavor 1 is set around our LEAD system, which is our new evaluation system, and this has been several years in the making, and it's something we're very excited about. We've hosted over 100 trainings across the state for leaders who observe and evaluate educators. Leaders have to attend a multi-day training and pass an assessment to certify and be able to conduct these observations and these new evaluations. So through these over 100 trainings that we've hosted across the state, we set a goal to certify 4,500 leaders in the LEAD system, and we surpassed that goal by certifying 4,600 leaders during this past year. There's an appendix behind today's presentation that also transparently previews our next set of goals and where we plan to go from here. Key Endeavor 2 around quality teachers really represents a whole body of work that really spans across teams in our agency, all around expanding and growing our educator and leader pipelines. So we've done this in several ways by promoting new pathways, like our educational leader, alternate pathway 4, that opens up leadership opportunities for individuals who may not have an educational leadership background or degree. We've also supported our para-to-teacher model with hundreds of para-educators in our state enrolled in programs to become full-time teachers. We are actively recruiting to increase the amount of mentor teachers that we have who are able to mentor student residents and new teachers. We've also provided support and resources for high-quality professional learning opportunities that are school day embedded, and also through our Louisiana professional learning platform, which we were able to create and make really tons of modules for with ESSER funding in a sustainability practice. And we've also begun to implement recommendations from the Let Teachers Teach task force to give teachers voice and also to relieve them of any burdens. Our goal, our measure for around quality teachers was to increase our overall teacher retention. And we didn't quite meet that goal because we stayed at the 85% mark, and we hope to increase to 86% retention rate. Over the last several years, we have lifted a project that we call the New Teacher Experience Project. And this has really worked with school systems to encourage them to really bolster their own induction training, mentor teacher programs, and this also includes our work around the LEADS evaluation system that specifically targets new teachers with individualized coaching supports. And as highlighted previously, overall, we did see growth in that first through fifth year teacher, and so we are seeing some fruits of the labor of that New Teacher Experience Project that is both hosted from our level at the state, but also is encouraged and supported at the school system level. And finally, Key Endeavor 4, our educator preparation pathway. Dr. Calderon hit on this earlier. She spoke a little bit about the importance of this pathway and the work that they do at Southeastern to support high school students with taking college-level education courses during their high school experience. So this is something we've been working at for a few years now, and we've nearly doubled participation in the program over the last 3 years. We've also used ESSER dollars to invest in building a curriculum for this program. Prior to us building a curriculum, school systems had to purchase curriculum annually in order to offer these courses at the high school level. And so now there is a free Louisiana version of the curriculum that high schools across the state can use to offer these college-level courses. We set a goal of 2,000 students being enrolled and successfully completing education courses in high school, and we met that with 2,005 students enrolled in the program this year. We also set a goal of 100 schools offering the program, and we met that with 100 schools offering the program. So we hope to only continue that growth from here. Our educator talent and workforce development team has been hard at work providing a range of resources and supports from high school students to the most veteran staff on school campuses. So we have lots of exciting work in all of these areas still to come, offering more Louisiana Educator rubric, Louisiana Leader, and Counselor rubric training to get even more leaders certified and able to conduct observations and coaching visits to teachers. We've provided on-site support to local schools and school systems that will continue into next school year. We also will continue to provide on-site support visits for Grow Your Own, that para-to-teacher pipeline that we support across the state. We're releasing that Louisiana pre-educator pathway curriculum that I spoke about a few minutes ago, continuing to offer boot camp for our educational leader alternate pathway for individuals who come in from a different background, and we prepare them to lead a school. We also, this summer, will host yet again our Aspiring Educators Summer Academy for high school students, which is an invitation for those high school students in the ed prep pathways to come together in the summer on a college campus and really have this fantastic immersive experience in working with teachers and learning even more about what it's like to become a teacher in this camp-like environment. And also in July, we will once again host for several hundred of our new teachers statewide, our new teacher experience kickoff for new teachers, where we really just hope to welcome our new teachers and induct them into the profession in a really positive way before they go out to serve students across our state. And this concludes today's update. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Chasson. Any questions from board members? You did a great job. Yes, Mr. Morris?
I know somebody else has got questions. Thank you, Dr. Chason. Really looking forward to this one. I did have a couple of questions. The first one on slide 4 of your presentation, I was really impressed. We've been able to increase the number of special education teachers by 1,021. That's fantastic. Can you help us with some background there? How are we able to do that?
Yeah, I think there are a few things there. For one, we have in the last several years identified more special education students, which I think helps to answer that, especially coming out of COVID, as we've been able to conduct those evaluations of students that maybe were on pause during the years of COVID. I think one thing that has been very wisely done by multiple teacher preparation programs across our state was either to offer or require a dual pathway as educator preparation candidates are going through their program to also become certified in special education. And I think that has really resulted in that large uptick that we see.
Okay, so there may not be that many more new teachers, but there are that many more people with certification for special ed. Is that the right interpretation?
Yes, I think it's a combination of both. I think we're seeing people return to get that certification, but we're also seeing more of the educators coming in with at least a dual certification.
Right.
I want to add to Dr. Chasson's. One is encouragement of individuals through our agency to be able to ascertain the special education certification processes for that. And then the other is when we identified the shortage content areas, we identified high school math, high school science, and K-12 special education. So school systems are able to use their component, their block grant of differentiated pay to pay special education teachers more money. And so the impact of that is you may have a teacher who is, might be a second grade general ed teacher that sees that their system is paying a special ed teacher $3,000 more a year, and they say, I want to go be the special ed teacher. And so then they pursue that path. So I think that has helped too.
Great. Just another example of differentiated pay. I gave the example earlier with the physics teacher. Here's another example, or actually several examples with special education.
And we use the we use the ESSER dollars for COVID to fund individuals going through special education certification programs too. So that's also a big part of it.
Great. So next slide, where you speak to the additional 843 teachers, it's not 843 plus 1021. It's 843, and some percentage of the 843 are special ed educators. Got it. Thank you. Next one I have is slide 7. I think it's really impressive where you guys are able to identify for us another gap here, not as bad as a vacancy, but where teachers are out of field. And we've got an English teacher teaching math. We've got a teacher in the room, but somebody's not certified in math in that example. So it's great that you guys are able to bring us that quantitative analysis so we can identify where the specific need is. And so if the numbers work out, if I get it right, there's about 13,000 uncertified or out-of-field teachers in our system. So sort of the same question I asked Dr. Calderon is how do we get some appreciation, maybe a little bit more ingrained, and Superintendent Brumley spoke to, than just math, science, and special ed? Should we be looking at, how many math teachers or how many science teachers or special ed so that we can appreciate where the focus should be to recruit those specific fields or not?
We actually have a page with several tables in our workforce report that outlines the vacancy and the content areas and the grade bands where we see those vacancies.
I thought we didn't have any vacancies. I thought we cleared that up. These are just people uncertified or out of field, right? That's an important distinction for me.
We do collect from school systems how many vacancies they have at any point in time, and we do a collection. We did a collection at the end of last school year, asking how many spots they had open at that time, and what content area and what grade band.
Okay.
those
Can you
positions
guys
are.
bring that to us?
Yes, it is part of the workforce, the overall workforce report, so I can absolutely provide that.
Okay, thank you. Next one I just have one or two more.
Mr. Morris, I want to add to that that's a function of our new reporting system as well, because if you remember 4 or 5 years, it runs together. Several years ago, we were having to just survey school systems, about vacancies, and now with our new reporting system, it's uploaded into that system. And so it's we have evolved into a more sophisticated approach for knowing the vacancies than we knew 4 or 5 years ago.
Great. Okay, I look forward to getting that. Thank you. Next one I have is with regard to the lead system. So again, for me, this is just another really impressive, I guess, revelation for me personally. I think it's very rare in any industry that you find an employee evaluation system that the employees actually like. That was certainly the case in my career. But here, the feedback I've gotten from teachers has just been across the board. They're just really excited about it. So just kudos to you guys, with the concept, and then also being able to roll it out and then get that kind of positive feedback. So I really appreciate that. And then I want to make sure I have the right interpretation for the qualified teacher. It's on a 5-point scale, and it's 3 or better. Is that correct?
Yes, we would call that proficient and above.
Right, okay. And then last question I have is, next slide, slide 12. Conduct leads trainings for systems who have opted into the learning year. I thought the lead system applied to everybody. I didn't know you had to opt into it. Can you help me out with that?
Yeah, so Bulletin 130 applies to everyone. We did give an option for this school year that school systems could choose to use the rubric from the Compass system, the legacy system, in order to give, if they felt like they needed their educators to have one more year of learning and support, additional training, they were able to use that for one additional year. And then the expectation is moving into next year, everyone will use the new rubric.
Oh, okay, so this is just a transition period.
Yes,
Got
absolutely.
it. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mr. Berkins?
I'll be brief.
Thank you.
In the years 1 to 5, that's the most of teachers exit the education field, correct?
Yes.
Is there data for any kind of exit interviews as to why?
We do. We have an exit survey report that I could provide to you where as educators exit school systems, they do take an exit survey letting us know their reason for leaving.
I'd kind of like to see that.
Sure, happy to provide it.
Mr. Birkin, you can also see that if you look at that information there on that slide 6, and this is what I've shared with legislators a number of times, if we can have a teacher that stays with a school system for that initial period of time, say 5 years, then they're more likely to stay from 5 to 20. because they've made it through that first few years, which are tough. And that's why we've invested so much in the new teacher experience work the last few years, which has been a statewide effort that we've led around trying to support new teachers. And that's why for 2 consecutive years in a row, we've seen those retention rates go up. I think it was 5% last year, 3% this year. So that's important. So if we can get them to essentially 5, give or take on either side of 5, we can most of the time get them to 20. And then once you get to the 20, you hit that first retirement eligibility mark, and then so you do see some people begin to leave the profession and go into a second career. But if you can hit that mark, you can more often than not carry them to that year 20.
Ms. Holloway?
Yes, sir.
I have one more question.
Yes, Mr.
Following
Morris.
up on Mr. Birkin's question on the exit surveys, we've had previous conversations. I forget what the number is, like 30% or so, check the other box. And you and I have had some conversations about that. I know there's some vendors that provide surveys to get us help to understand what's inside that other box. Have you guys looked at that anymore? Any thoughts there to help us to appreciate what's inside the other box?
We have. We've taken a really keen eye to our actual exit survey questions, brought it to several different teacher groups, and we do plan on updating some of the questions within that survey moving forward, so that we can provide some of the nuances within that other category.
And I think the other part of that conversation is folks might be reluctant to comment there if they feel like that information is going back to their supervisor. So have you guys looked at a different approach there, whether it be with an independent party or whatever, so that you present it in a way where folks don't have that concern and they can respond more transparently?
We have, and that is something that we're working on to move forward.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments? Any opposition? Any sort? Okay, motion carried. Let's move on for the next item, please.
Your next item is on page 101, item 7.1, consideration of executive session regarding discussion of the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of a person. The recommendation is to convene executive session.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to go into executive session, please? Mr. Harris and Ms. Champagne, seconds. Is there any public comment or board discussion on this matter before we take a roll call vote? In order for this motion to pass, 2/3 affirmative vote of members present is required. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Appel? Yes. Dr. Armstrong? Yes. Mr. Birkin? Yes. Mr. Castile is not present. Ms. Champagne?
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Clark? Yes. Mr. Harris? Yes. Mr. Hollis? Not present. Ms. Mellorine?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Morris? Yes. Ms. Holloway?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I will advise the audience that we will be in executive session for the length of time necessary for the discussion. No votes will be taken while the committee is in executive session. All votes will be made in public. Additionally, public disclosure is not required of matters discussed in a properly held executive session. At this time, the Educator Effectiveness Committee meeting stands in recess to go into executive session.
Can I get a motion to reconvene the Educator Effectiveness Committee meeting and continue with the regular order of the agenda to vote on the items discussed in executive session? Mr. Harris? Second, Dr. Armstrong. Next item, please.
Your next item is on page 102, item 7.2, consideration of a records review regarding the reinstatement of a Louisiana teaching credential appropriate to the credentials of Mr. Michael Carter. The recommendation is to grant, deny, or defer.
Madam Chairman, if I may, I would like to approve the reinstatement on item point 7.2 for Mr. Michael Carter, 7.3 for Mr. John Grafton, and 7.4 for Mr. Damon Jackson in Globo.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Second.
A second, Mr. Harris.
Any objections?
Any objections?
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Motion carries.
Motion passes.
That concludes your agenda.
Thank you.